Hey, what's going on everyone? So today we're going to be talking about the difference between outsourcing and outstaffing. Now, before we dive right into the details, I actually want to talk a little bit about the different types of outsourcing before we begin. I feel like this is something really important to understand because if you're looking for different ways to be able to lower costs within your business, it's a good thing to understand the different mechanisms that are out there in order to help you do so. To make things a little bit easier today, I'm going to be using my business RightTech as the example in terms of how we have leveraged all four of these different methods over the years. So first, let's take a look at what the most common methods of outsourcing are. We've got recruitment, project-based outsourcing, traditional outsourcing, and then outstaffing. Now, I'm going to go into each of these in more detail as we go through this video together and do my best to give you an illustration as to the difference between each of them. So with outsourced recruitment, first of all, let's say we have you, and you have a particular job description that you need some assistance with. Now, traditionally, you would go out and try and hire to fill that role. However, with outsourced recruitment, it's a little bit different because you're generally trying to tap into either a skill set or a price point within salary ranges from a different location. So in this instance, you're usually going to use a recruiter who's going to go out and try and find exactly the type of person you're looking for out in the big wide world. So you may be located over here, and the recruiter is going to come look for somebody way over here for you. Now in this model, you're going to get somebody cheaper because they're generally hired in a location where salary expectations aren't as high as they would be in your local area. You're also going to pay a small fee to the recruitment agent. This may be in the form of a commission or a flat fee, but ultimately this staff member now works for you in your organization. Over here. The positives of outsourced recruiting are that you generally can find somebody for a lower salary range, and you can also tap into skill sets that you may be lacking within your local region. You also open yourself up to a much wider range of candidates. The downsides of outsourced recruiting are that ultimately this is your staff member, so you have HR responsibilities towards them and any associated employment law that may be attached to having an employee work directly for your organization. So with outsourced projects, it works a little bit differently. We've got you over here who has a particular project that you need completed. You're going to go to a company like RightTech who specializes in outsourced project management. That company is either going to already have staff on hand to meet your requirements, or they're going to go out and source team members who can work for you for the duration of your project. So in that case, they're going to go out and find exactly the type of people that you need to be able to deliver on your project. Generally, the company here in the middle is going to be looking after your entire project and adding a layer of project management in between you and the staff members, so you can just pass on the requirements and they will make sure that they deliver to those. The positives in this particular case, once again, you're able to tap into lower cost resource generally overseas. You have a project manager that sits here in the middle looking after all your requirements for you, so you're not having to take care of the day-to-day, and ultimately you get your project returned to you, and the company in the middle will have been responsible for making sure that your requirements are met. The downside of this particular model is you do have a company sitting in the middle who has to completely understand your requirements and has to be able to deliver to those, and so there's going to be a lot of communication backwards and forwards between you and them, but it does save you the time of having to deal with all of the staff members at the other end. You also don't have the same sort of HR and employment commitments as you would in hiring your own staff member. One of the key differences, at least with the clients that we work with at RightTech, between outsourcing and project work is that outsourcing can be a lot more sporadic. With a project, you may be coming to a company with a particular list of requirements and a particular outcome in mind, and it's the company's responsibility to help you reach that outcome. Now with outsourcing, it's a little bit different because in this particular case, rather than a particular project, you might have lots of little tasks that you need done on an irregular basis. Those tasks could span multiple different skill sets and could be wildly different areas of your business that you need resource for. So in this particular case, once again, there's generally a company sitting in the middle that's going to manage your outsourcing for you. We'll use RightTech in this example. And that company is going to go out and either find, or they'll already have on their payroll, staff members that can come in and deliver against each single one of these particular tasks. Now, as I say, one of the big advantages in this particular model is that first of all, once again, you're tapping into the lower cost resources of people potentially being overseas or being located in areas that don't have as high a salary expectations as where you're based. Using outsourcing, you also get to tap into a wide variety of skills, particularly if you have a good company in the middle that can help you source high quality talent. This is a great model if you have sporadic workloads and it's difficult for you to anticipate when you're going to need resource and what type of resource you're going to need. It also works really well if you often find yourself in a situation where one day you need resource with a very specific skill set and they might only need to do a few tasks for you, but then later on you might need a completely different skill set for a different period of time. Outsourcing provides a very flexible model where you can tap into those different resources as you need them, and generally works in more of a sort of time and materials billing process. Now, once again, an advantage of this is that these are not technically your employees, so you don't have the same sort of employment obligations as if they were working directly for you. The negative is that generally, because you're outsourcing and because you're not in a position to offer ongoing work for a particular skill set, you're not always going to be working with the same person at the other end, even if it's a similar task. Depending on the size of the outsourcing company that you're working with, oftentimes your tasks might just be going into a pool, and that pool is going to be picked up by whoever has that particular skill set. This model is less well known, but has some very significant benefits depending on if it works for your business situation. Now, with Outstaffing, once again, you may have a project or a set of requirements that you need worked on. The difference in this scenario is that the workload that's attached to those tasks and projects is often more predictable, and you can commit to a long-term engagement with people of a particular skill set. So in this particular model, once again, there's generally a company that sits in the middle that you work with directly, providing them with your requirements, your objectives, and your project goals. That company is going to go out and is going to find you the star players for your particular needs. The big difference in this scenario is, unlike outsourcing, where those different staff members are just part of a pool that are going to be assigned to you on an ad hoc basis, when using outstaffing, these employees are actually going to be dedicated to you as an organization. For all intents and purposes, they are your employees. They work full-time for you, they get to know your business really well, and you build an ongoing relationship with them, just like any other employee in your organization. You also get the benefit of these employees generally being a lot lower cost than if you were trying to hire locally. And because you have an international market to choose from instead of just your local area, you have a much wider variety of skill levels to be able to choose from. Another big advantage for you as a business in this particular scenario is that while these employees are working for you as if they're your own staff member, technically they are actually staff members of the hiring organization. Once again, this means that you don't have the same sort of commitments that you would typically have in terms of HR and employment law. It becomes this company's responsibility to take care of everything like payroll, employee benefits, and even things like making sure the employee has the right company equipment. The main drawback in this particular model is you do generally need to make a longer term commitment to these employees in order to get good rates. But if you know that you have a large workload coming up and you can commit to a long-term engagement, you can often build a team for a fraction of the price of any one of these other three models. Now, my final point on this, it applies to all of these models, but it's particularly important when outstaffing. If you're working in an area where intellectual property is really important, say for example you're a software business or you're building your own SaaS product, then you are potentially introducing risk by bringing in external people to your organization that you don't have full control over and aren't even in your jurisdiction if something goes wrong. This is where it's really important to have a company in the middle that understands how to create a firewall, for want of a better term, that can protect you and your company's IP while still leveraging the benefits of being able to work with these external parties. There's a number of different strategies on exactly how to do this, and if you would like to know more about how to protect yourself in this situation, just drop a note in the comments of this video and I can give you a full outline of the methods that we use at RightTech to protect not only ourselves but our customers. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. Or if there's a particular area you want me to focus more on, drop a note in the comments. Let me know how else I can help.